What is up, Instagram? How y'all doing on today? Recording in progress, because I'm on a mission. Um, check this out. Uh, hang on, I just seen something. Um, okay, maybe I didn't. All right. What's up, everybody? It is your girl Kimberly Janelle, the money coach, the financial fixer. Ah, I want to talk to you today. I'm gonna have to take my glasses off because got my little light a little too bright. I want to talk to you today about um this whole no income tax. Okay. I've had a couple people, um, oh shoot, I just realized maybe I need to be doing something else. Hold on, y'all, before I get too far in this thing. Hold on. Get too far in this thing. There we go. Um, okay. All right, let's talk about the whole no income tax thing. Okay. I had a couple people that I've talked to that was super excited about this whole we ain't gonna pay no income tax. Uh, excited about Trump because of that, because we're not gonna pay no income tax, yada yada yada. And I definitely said, so you know that if there's no income tax, that there's always an exchange. You're not gonna get something for nothing. And so I've been seeing people talking about excited about not paying income tax, so much so that they ain't even trying to tax plan. They not worried about tax time because there ain't gonna be no income tax and all that stuff. And I just want to let you know you celebrating a little too soon. Number one, and number two, I'm going to show you what this really means. Okay. First of all, you need to understand that anything that the president, whoever's sitting in the seat, doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter who it is, he does not have the final say. He makes suggestions and recommendations. Excuse me, I don't know why I have hiccups. But then it has to go through the Senate and the House. Like Congress has to decide, yes, this is a good idea. We voting in support of it, or heck no, get that out of here. Okay. So just because he's been saying a whole lot of things doesn't mean that that thing is getting ready to come into play. That's the first thing that you need to know. Just because he says a thing doesn't mean that it's getting ready to happen. It still has to go through Congress. It has to be approved through Congress. Now, if you know anything about the government, you should know that it could take 6 weeks, it could take 6 years for something to be approved in Congress. If you are an entrepreneur and you have been um, looking at the BOI report, the report that every LLC owner was supposed to file by December 31st, or possibility of fines like $500 a day or whatever, right? They have gone back and forth about that BOI report. It's constitutional. It's unconstitutional. It's constitutional. We have a right to know. It's unconstitutional because that's my private business. Back and forth all year long. Okay. So just because he says we're not going to have to pay income tax, or I'm going to get rid of income tax, does not mean that that is effective right now. It does not mean that you don't need to, if you're self-employed, that you don't need to worry about paying quarterly taxes or any of those things. Do not get caught up in that. Okay. But let me show you how this is going to affect us, period, and where your mind should be in regards to this whole tax situation. Okay. So I got my handy dandy marker because I'm about to teach more than anything. I'm about to teach. Okay. So, oh dang. My bad, y'all. I done threw my phone off. Okay. Let me see if I can move this without making a mess. Okay, I think that's good. I think that's good. I think that's good. Okay. There are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different taxes that the United States collects right now. Okay? Boom. Income tax, that's just one of them. Payroll tax. Sales tax. You own a home, you pay property tax. If you got investments that you sell, then you're gonna have capital gains tax. If you get an inheritance, there is estate and inheritance tax. If you own a business, then there's corporate tax. If you sell certain items, tobacco, alcohol, there's excise tax, okay? Then you got tariffs, which we're gonna talk about that. Because this is what, this is what's big in the news right now. And then you got dividend tax. If you got investments, you have dividend tax, okay? All right. So for all the money that's made in the world, the United States already collects all of these taxes, okay? Let me tell you why this is so important for you to know. And if you're dropping in, say, hey, if you're watching on YouTube, say live in the comments, repeat or replay. Let me tell you why these are important, okay? All of these taxes are intended to funnel into the United States budget, okay? The United States has a budget that they tell the money where to go and what to do. And this is one way that they collect or that they feed into their budget. They have 10 different ways that feed into their budget, okay? Now, let's just talk about income tax because that's the only thing that they're talking about getting rid of. Let's talk about income tax. And I want you to think about this for a minute, okay? Think about this for a minute. Of course, we don't have any numbers for 2024 because the 2024 tax season has not concluded yet, right? We just got started in the 2024 tax season. And so we don't have any definite numbers for 2024. However, let's talk about 2023, okay? 2023. In 2023, the IRS collected $4.7 trillion in taxes. 4.7. Now, they issue refunds to 105 million people, and they estimated that the refunds were about $3,138, okay? When we do that math, the IRS gave back all right, let me show you what I'm doing. The IRS collected $4.7 trillion in income tax, which is just one of 10 different taxes that they collect, okay? They collected 4.7 trillion of those. This is 2023. And in 2023, they gave back 329 billion, let's just say $329 billion in refunds. So they over collected $329 billion in income tax. Okay? Which means that they have money left over. How much money, Kim? Let me show you how much money they had left over. Now, after they gave back the 329 billion in refunds, they still had 4.37 trillion dollars left. Now, why is this a problem? Because the United States does not know how to manage their money. Why do you say that, Kim? Oh, because in 2023, they still borrowed money. They were still operating at a deficit, which means that they had to borrow money to meet their budget. And this is how much they borrowed. So let's do the math. Let's do the math. Because the math ain't mathing. The numbers ain't adding up. Let me scoot it on up here. Let me scoot it on up here. Okay? Let's look at this math. They collected $4.7 trillion in just income tax. They ended up giving back $329 billion to people like you and me in refunds. But that means that they kept $4.37 trillion of the money that they collected in just income tax. Right there. But they still had to borrow money. Even with them keeping $4.37 trillion in income tax, they still had to borrow in 2023 $1.7 trillion. Now, where do they get this money from? Well, they issue securities, treasury bonds. That's where they get the $1.7 trillion. Treasury securities is where they get this money from. So if you are not investing, this is how you become a lender and not a borrower. You buy treasury securities because that's where the government is getting the deficit that they have filled through treasury securities. Now, let me just put a little pause right here. These are backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. They've never not paid back any of their securities that you have. Anybody that's purchased treasury securities, they've never defaulted on what they owe. Okay? So because the government is always going to operate at a deficit because they don't know how to manage money, you should get into treasury securities. Okay? Back to the point. If they are collecting 4.7 trillion in just income tax, I didn't look at how much they got in property tax, payroll tax, none of the other taxes. We only gonna talk about income tax because that's what y'all so excited about, right? If they collected 4.7 trillion in income tax, they only gave back 329 billion to y'all, to us, and they kept 4.37 trillion of the income tax that they collected, but it still wasn't enough. They still had a deficit of 1.7 trillion, so they had to borrow. What do y'all think is going to happen if they get rid of that? If they're already operating at a deficit where they still have to borrow money, if they're not taking $4.7 trillion out of our paychecks, your paychecks, our paychecks, if they're not expecting that in estimated quarterly taxes, where do you think this 4.7 trillion is going to come from? It's not, this money is not just magically sitting somewhere that they're not using it. So let's talk about tariffs. Everybody like, yeah, let's not pay income tax. Let's not pay income tax, which is a huge part of the budget. Okay, it's a huge part of the budget. Tariffs are a tax that's put on imports and exports. Okay, so you might not have to pay income tax, But anything that you purchase that comes from overseas will be ridiculously more expensive now. Everything, everything. Your extensions, your tennis shoes, your stuff from Temu, Shein, all of that stuff that comes from overseas is now ridiculously more expensive than it was. Every single item. Now I want you to just walk through your house and I want you to look at the things that you purchase on a regular basis and really stop for a moment. Look on the back of them. Look on the back of these speakers. Look on the back of your Keurig machine. Look on the back of your TV or Google the stuff. Where does this stuff come from? Even though it's in Walmart, Kohl's, Macy's, wherever you buy it from, where does it come from? Chances are the tariff is going to affect the cost of the goods that you buy. Now, if I'm a business owner and I have a beauty supply store and everything that I'm buying now has an increase of 30%, do you think I'm just going to eat that? There's not a business owner in America that is prepared to eat whatever the increase is on their goods because of this tariff. So you can get excited that this money is not going to come from income tax anymore, but I guarantee you that it's going to come from somewhere. The tariffs means that it's going to cost more for stuff to go in and come out, which means that business owners are going to charge more. It means that your property taxes are going to go up. It means that sales tax, some of these states that don't have sales tax will have sales tax. Will have sales tax. You will have sales tax. They're going to find where this $4.7 trillion is going to come from. And this is just 2023. The estimated numbers for 2024 for income tax is 5.1 trillion. Do y'all really think that the government is going to agree to get rid of a source of their income without knowing where it's going to come from? That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. So we talk about tariffs and you know, you can be excited about income tax being a possibility, a thing in the fact of the past, and would that be great? Would it feel great? It kind of depends on what we're replacing it with. But you better know that with them losing that much money by getting rid of income tax, and this is again, this is 2023, 2024's estimated income tax that they received is $5.1 trillion. Do y'all think that they're going to get rid of that system where they can collect that amount of money and still be at a deficit, y'all? They still borrowed money last year. So it still ain't enough. It still clearly is not enough. But don't think that they're going to get rid of one of their streams of income and that it don't affect you in some other way, because it's coming. It's coming. What could that look like, Kim? What could it look like for income tax to go away? What could it look like? Well, it can mean that the states, again, the states that don't have sales tax or state tax will adopt state tax because property tax is going to go up, because payroll tax rates are going to increase, because capital gains tax rate will increase, corporate tax rate will increase. That money is going to come from somewhere. I'm going to tell you what else is going to happen. Inflation. The cost of your dollar will no longer be equivalent to a dollar. The average percentage of inflation is about 3%. But getting rid of income tax and people complaining about the cost of eggs and stuff already. Well, what y'all think is going to happen? What you think is going to happen? Eggs going to be $10 a carton. Gallon of milk is going to be $5 a gallon. And to be honest, I don't even know how much it costs. I don't even know how much the stuff costs. I don't even look. If I need it, I'm going to get it. but people are already feeling the stress and the pressure of the rising cost of things. It will get worse. It will get worse. What on this list impacts you? I mean, think about it. What impacts you? You own a home, your property tax could skyrocket. They'll conveniently think of another type of sales tax. In some states, there's 2 or 3 different types of sales tax that you pay. Food and beverage tax, state tax, oh, of course I'm drawing a blank. There's a separate tax at a lot of the touristy areas. So these tariffs will affect your life in one way, shape, or form. They are not going to lose this much in income and not have a plan to recoup it somewhere. So here's what I would recommend. If you have a business, you need to be focused on maximizing the sales and revenue generation in your business, period. You need to position yourself to be able to benefit from whatever what do I want to call them? Benefits. I'll just call them benefits. Whatever benefits that are coming down the pipeline for businesses. Because one thing is for certain, and that is the man who sits in the seat of the president is a businessman first. And a lot of people was like, oh yeah, the PPP, the stimulus, da, da, da. That didn't really have nothing to do with you. The PPP and the stimulus was not intended for you to get a cushion or to build your savings. They gave us that money to help us stimulate the economy. Why? Because the economy is influenced, 70% of the economy or 70% of consumer spending determines the status of the economy. And so if ain't nobody spending money, then the inflation is high, because inflation is based on how people are spending money. So we only got the stimulus because inflation was high, because nobody was buying. So they said, hey, if we give everybody some money to go spend, then that will stimulate the economy, aka stimulus check, and we can bring the inflation rate down. The same thing with the PPP. We got to give these businesses some money so they can keep paying people to show up at a business that then they will pay, then they will then spend money, and it will stimulate the economy. Everything about the PPP and the stimulus was not for you. You got to go buy some stuff, but it wasn't for you. It was to stimulate the economy, to put spending back into the economy so that the inflation rate can go down. Now, the people who benefited from the PPP, I was one of them, ain't had no issues, no nothing. Why? Because I had a valid business. Like I actually was operating a business. And so any money that I got was because I owned a business and I was able to provide financials to prove that. Here's where you need to be focusing your time and energy. You can entertain conversations on the internet about what you think should be happening and why this and how come that and why not this and who better for that. You can spend your time doing that. You could also choose to spend your time pointing fingers and making assumptions about other business owners and what you think they should do and should not do because of what other people are doing. Or you can position yourself to be ready for whatever's coming down the pipeline that benefits businesses. If you've been thinking about starting a business, now's the time to start a business. If you've been operating as a side hustle or a gig or just a thing you do to make money, now's the time to legitimize your business. And if you have a business and you've declared it a business, but you need some help with making sure your back end systems are good, aka your financials, because you are only worth what you can prove. I don't care how much you tell me. Yeah, I made yes, sis, I made about 30,000. Prove it. Where are your financials? Where are your reports? Where your profit and loss statement? Show me on your tax return. You are only worth what you can prove. So if you've been making money and you are not keeping track of your financials accurately, then now's the time for you to start doing that. And if you don't have a business, you're not interested in a business, it's not something that you want to do, I'll tell you one thing that everybody should be doing, and that is investing. And where can you invest? In the government. You can invest with the government. They always gonna need money. Treasury securities. They always need money. That's how they fill the deficit. By issuing treasury securities. They do it every year. They're going to do it every year because they don't know how to manage their money. And so then you become the lender and you let the government borrow your money. But see, the difference in doing it this way with the security is that you're earning interest on money that you're letting them borrow versus this tax that they take out of your paycheck and then they give you a little bit of it back at the end of the year. They don't give you no interest on your money. So if you're going to let the government use your money, then you should do it the right way. You should do it this way. Go get you some treasury securities. Let the government borrow your money and make some money on the money that they're borrowing from you. Versus getting so excited about getting a refund check when they done used your money all year long, you ain't made nothing, it ain't benefited you at all. Do you understand the difference? So, I hope this made sense. I hope I've given you something to think about. But this whole idea of getting rid of income tax is not, number one, is not as easy as you think it is. And I hope you see that something is going to happen in exchange for income tax going away. Because there's absolutely no way in God's green earth that the IRS profits 4.3, what does it say? $4.37 trillion in income tax. And they're gonna make a declaration to get rid of income tax without having a way to replace that money that they make from that stream of income. So just realized my hair was a little flat. Maddie said, nope, that money is gonna have to come, it's gonna come from somewhere. It absolutely is. That money's gonna come from somewhere. And so I don't know what their plan is. I have been trying to stay as far away from all of that talk that's been happening because it can emotionally drain you and take you under. But no need to get all ruffled up in regards to what all he's saying, because he can't make any decisions unless Congress decides that it's a good idea. Okay. All he can do is make recommendations, and he can take it to the House. He can take it to Congress and they can vote on it in the House and the Senate. And if they both decide that it's a good idea, then we need to be worried. But until then, and not until then, it's just a notion. But just know that's a whole lot of money that he's proposing to get rid of. And based on some of his some of the stuff he's been saying, I don't know that he has a good plan, an alternate plan for where to get that money from. So I hope this has been helpful. Share it with somebody that you know that has been talking about it, excited about it, whatever. I love to be your money coach, your financial fixer. You can find all of my information on KimberlyJanelle.com. I got a lot of great stuff happening. You can email me as well, Kimberly@KimberlyJanelle.com. All right, y'all. Happy Valentine's Day. Talk soon.